Welcome to the Scottsdale Vibes podcast. I'm Alicia Haygood. This month is all about love. From Scottsdale City Lifestyle's Love Issue to All About Scottsdale to Cantrill, the Scottsdale Matchmaker, which we're going to have on this week to tell us how to find love here in Scottsdale. I'm going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll have Cantrill with us. When it comes to protecting you, your family, and all your assets, you need to have someone that you can trust, and that's Jeremy Mueller of State Farm Insurance. Jeremy Mueller has lived in Scottsdale his whole life. How can anyone else know your needs more than someone who's been here and seen it all? Jeremy and his team are always ranked in the top % at State Farm. He cares, he's knowledgeable, and most importantly, he's always available. Don't believe me? Give him a call at 480-515-5223 or find him at jeremymueller.com. The Scottsdale Matchmaker is here to tell us how to find love this season. Cantrill is a distinguished matchmaker, dating coach, and dating stylist who works with professionals across the U.S. She dedicates her career to helping individuals find and foster lasting, loving, meaningful relationships by guiding them through every step of the dating process. So now that Valentine's Day is coming up this week, we may not find true love this week, but that doesn't mean you can't start this week with Kat and find that true love coming up next. So I'm just going to start. Kat, when I think of matchmakers, I'm not going to lie. I think of like a bubby and all her little bubbies sitting around the table, comparing whose nieces, nephews, daughters, and sons are single, and then let's matchmake from there. I think it's a little different now.
Yes.
Or do you have a bubby
yes.
network that I'm not aware of behind the scenes? But let's talk about it. It's a skill, matchmaking is, and it's been around for generations. It's not just about the app. So talk about how you kind of got into this.
Yeah. So it's, everybody has their own unique story and journey of how people fall into this industry. Matchmaking is something that found me.
Okay.
I had owned my own business. Had gone through the trenches of online dating myself. I went through a divorce and had spent years online dating and going through self-discovery and really trying to figure out who I was. And in that journey, I decided to start my own business as a single mom. And so I started my own business, and organically through that business, I started coaching women on self-love and loving yourself and finding your passion and understanding what your purpose is and reconnecting to yourself. And in that journey, I had met my now husband online dating. And so the women around me were always asking me, like, how do I find a guy like that? Like, teach me your ways. Like, I want to know, where are these guys at? And at the time, from running the business and also coaching, I just didn't have the bandwidth to really focus on dating coaching, even though it was a part of what I was doing with helping women with discovery of self and love. And it was COVID that changed everything. So 2020 forced my storefront closed, and I catapulted my coaching business. But what ended up happening was more and more single women were reaching out to me because we were locked in.
Yeah.
And what else, so it made people become introspective, and where they're like, okay, maybe I really do want to have a partner. Maybe I do want to have somebody in my life. And I had a young woman who knew me from my previous business, who hired me the fall of 2020 to be your dating coach. And I was like, is this a thing? She was like, I know what you have and I want that. That's what I'm hiring you for. I want you to teach me how to get that. And what I didn't realize is that I had this entire life experience of my own journey of online dating, blind dates, being stood up, like my own, the things that I had been through in my own life that I could now apply to helping others basically skip the line. So dating coaching, my career started there. I launched a podcast called Dear Matchmaker, and then dating coaching just organically led into matchmaking
Okay.
because I realized that people needed more assistance than just coaching, but actually somebody who's their advocate, somebody who can see them for who they are, bring out all of their best qualities, and then present and bring people together as a connector. So it's just, I can't imagine now doing anything else. And I'm so grateful to be in this space with people. So,
Well, you said it yourself. Coaching from business and how to live your best life and be your best version, to me, seems to open up the door for love, acceptance, bringing in
yes.
that. So it makes sense that you would go into that because in my mind, it's the full package of how you find that true love is when you find true love within yourself. Like you were saying, the
Yes.
introverts and stuff. Can't find
Yes.
something if you're blocked and the doors are closed at the end of the day.
No, and I tell people all the time that sometimes the romance that you're missing is the romance that you need to bring into your own life.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're in charge of the romance in your own life. Like why are you not romancing yourself? Don't
Yeah.
depend on someone else to bring that to you.
Hello,
You are to
Miley
do that for
Cyrus, bring your
yourself
own
now.
flowers. Yeah. Okay, so we went from business coaching to this. You
Yes.
brought up the online dating. Listen, I met my husband probably less than a year before all the apps kind of started happening. I
Mm,
happened to meet him at a house party,
I
which
love
was
that.
so genuine and organic. And
Yes.
literally within that year, dating apps started coming out. I could not imagine. One of my very best friends went through the whole dating app, cycle, met her husband off of it eventually, but there was a lot of I'm on and heck no, I'm off. Like I am
Right.
done with this.
Yes.
Talk about what is the difference between that and what you do in meeting a true partner.
Yeah, so I help people with online dating. I believe that online dating can work, but you need to know how to work it.
Okay.
It's not like you become newly single and somebody hands you the pamphlet of like, okay, this is how you date. This is how you meet people online. There's no manual. So people are just kind of trying to figure it out for themselves. But sometimes people just don't have the bandwidth to do that.
Yeah.
Just the thought of online dating makes them just go crazy.
Yeah.
And so matchmaking is very unique because I get very close to my clients. I get to know who they are. And I always tell people that I'm not in the business of fulfilling your wants. I'm in the business of helping you understand what your needs are
Ah,
and finding people that can fulfill those needs. And starting off with what your core values are, understanding yourself, even understanding your personality type can create some awareness where you're like, oh, because people so much so think that, well, opposites attract, or like this, there's a lot of misconceptions of really what you should be looking for in a partner because of social media, because of television, because of people are really stuck on metrics of looking for a long-term relationship on things that just don't matter. And
that's
so my job
funny
is to help
because
them understand what does matter. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I'm I know there are data nerds out there, love them, we need them. But
Yeah.
like you're really focusing on like I need this specific thing rather than just being like this would be nice amenity or characteristic or something like that. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, so people when I ask people, okay, what is it that you're looking for? Usually what people start off are physical attributes.
Hmm.
And I'm not about the physical attributes. I'm about, okay, so if we find out that one of your core values is family, then you need to be also with somebody whose core value is also family because you see what's important to you in your life. It's really important to have a partner who also reflects that importance.
Hmm.
So, if you're really family oriented and somebody is very disconnected with their own family or has there's a different relationship that they have with their family and maybe family's not that important to them, there's going to be a disconnect in that match.
Yeah.
And so that's what I talk about. Okay, let's talk about your needs and let's talk about the type of person that can fulfill those needs, and we're not going to talk about the packaging because the packaging can come in all different
Yeah.
shapes and sizes. What we're going to focus on is like the type of personality and the type of person that you know that can fulfill these needs that will hopefully show up in a way for you so that it sets you up for success for a long-term relationship.
I feel like we're also there's different dating styles with the age and stage of life that you're at, right?
Yes.
So you're very
Yes.
much working with those executive, second stage of life kind of things.
Sometimes, not all the time.
Okay.
Sometimes, yeah.
It also depends on how you go with that, like you were saying. My girlfriend who got married later in life, she was single, never been married, no kids, no nothing. And after a certain age, she would be like, Alicia, you have to decide what she called, what baggage are you willing to accept, right? You're not, she's like, not everyone out there is a unicorn like me that's never been married, no kids, no nothing. So you have to understand, I'm fine if I'm a stepmom. I'm okay with that. I'm
Yes.
fine if there's a divorce as long as like the ex-wife is okay to deal with kind of thing. Because sometimes they're not. Like, you have to figure out what I'm willing to give up from my fairy tale in order to find the quality of man that I want as a partner. Because at this certain stage of life, everyone has some kind of baggage and history that comes along with the dating life.
That's absolutely true. And what I tell people is, I've had people in my office that are like, I want somebody that doesn't have any baggage. And I'm like, oh gosh, wouldn't that be nice? I mean,
Like, are you coming to the table with no baggage?
that's right. I'm like, wait a minute, let's have an honest conversation here. And why are you even leading with that? Like, that in itself shows me that there is something there and some baggage that's there, because we all have it.
Yeah, we do.
And I think it's so important to acknowledge it's not baggage. It is what we have been through is now the threading of who we've become.
Mm-hmm.
And even though there are things in my life, for myself, like I have an ex-husband, I went through quite a bit, but I really wouldn't change any of that because it's made me who I am today. And so the person that is sitting in front of you, I wouldn't look at it as necessarily that they have baggage. It's just that they've had a lot of life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's how, there are two different types of people. That are people that view their life as being lucky, and there's people that view their life as being unlucky.
Mm-hmm.
And you want the people that view their, like, being optimistic. Like, okay, yes, I've had all of these life experiences, but I took these experiences and I turned it on its head and made something amazing and powerful and wonderful from it. So those are the type of people that you want to be in front of, versus the people that are victim of their circumstances. Those are the people that are kind of stuck there and they can't seem to crawl out. That's in which for those people that have that kind of mindset, those are the people that have a lot more work to do and probably for sure need to be in therapy. So yeah. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I'm with you 100%. I tell everyone, if you are not have a therapist, you're behind in life. Like,
that's right.
That's it.
Yes,
just have
absolutely.
One. Yeah. Let's talk about dating trends right now. I've been out of the game so long. What are trends? How do you date right now?
So in-person events are making a huge comeback, and people are becoming more and more creative of creating in different type of styles of in-person events, from events that are called Pitch Your Friend, where you stand on stage with like a PowerPoint presentation of like, this is my friend and this is why you should date them, to there are certain apps that are now being developed in which people enter in their information and then they actually go to an event and they're actually matched with somebody on the spot. Like, people are getting extremely creative because the reason being is because apps have caused people to be less vulnerable to a certain degree. Like, when we think about back in the 80s and 90s, you couldn't just get on it. Well, that's not true. Apps have been around since the late 90s, but you couldn't just log on in the 80s and have opportunities to meet singles in your area. You had to get up out of bed. You had to shower. You had to get dressed. You had to put on cologne. You had to get in a car and drive to the bar and have the courage to be denied or to be, you would have to approach over and over and over again until you finally got somebody to say yes. People are they're not used to that anymore. So what people are doing is they're creating new and exciting ways to meet people in real life, so that it helps people create spaces in which they can be vulnerable and kind of ease them into it, because people are just not used to being vulnerable anymore.
I also think some of that is our attention span is just nothing like it used to be.
100%.
We're so used to the right now that, like, if you're not a match within 5 minutes, it's like, I'm not going to take the time to get to know you anymore.
Right.
So I feel like somewhat the dating apps have taken out the dating part of getting to know each other, because you find out so much information at the beginning that you're missing out on the opportunity of those first few dates kind of thing.
Yeah, I advise people to please not dive in. Like there is, people have excuses. Well, I have to talk to them on the phone first, or I have to do video chat first, or I have to, I have to talk to them for a couple of weeks in order to know whether or not I want to go on a date with them. And I think that there are so many missed opportunities because science tells us that the more we start to build an emotional connection with somebody, we build this grandiose idea of who this person is in our head.
Yeah.
We romanticize
Oh
about it.
yeah.
We're like, oh, I've been talking to him for 2 weeks and I think he's the guy and he's so great and he's this and he's that. And then you meet him in real life after been talking to him for 2 or 3 weeks and you're like, whoa, this is not at all what I thought he was going to be, because you've built up this
Yeah.
idea of who he is in your head and it does not match. And so my advice is cut the chatter, like connect through the app, have very little conversation, just get a vibe from them where
Okay.
it's like, okay, we're having a conversation. Okay, they're inquisitive. They're asking me questions. It seems to be going back and forth. I feel really good of kind of where this is going. Then just move them into real life
I
just
like
as
it.
soon as you possibly can. And, there's different ways, people are worried about security and safety, and there's different ways there is a site that's called Been Verified where you can plug in somebody's phone number and it'll pull up, so, if they have a criminal background or if
Mm.
there's things that they have, that they have, it even pulls up speeding tickets sometimes. So
Ooh.
it's, there's ways to vet people without having to chat with them, because that, for me, that's where a lot of the dating fatigue
Yeah.
comes from with these apps, is all of the chatter,
Yeah, that
which
makes sense.
at the end of the day, just eliminate that as much as possible and get off the app.
Let's talk about long distance dating, because my
Yeah.
partner and I find each other in different states. He was living in Pittsburgh. I was in Atlanta. Like I said, we met at a house party because he was visiting friends. It doesn't have to be there. So how would you, matchmaker, do something like that where you have two amazing people, but they don't live together? So you do have to have those conversations and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that if you are open to, what is the goal? I think is the question.
Okay.
Okay, so if you are open to a long distance relationship, what are your goals? Are you willing to relocate? Are you wanting them to relocate to you? And like having that honest conversation up front before you start to really do a deeper dive, because I found with long distance relationships, some people are so afraid to have those conversations
Yeah.
where they're like, oh, I'm so afraid I'm going to push this person away, or I'm so afraid that this is going to happen or that's going to happen. So if as long as the both of you are on the same page and you're both open, I'm a firm believer that long distance relationships can work. It just takes more work.
Yeah,
It's
it
going
does.
to take more communication. It's going to take effort from both of you in order to make it thrive and succeed.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, when I met my husband, G-Chat had just started. I had like just gotten a Gmail account to be able to chat with him and not
Oh,
text with
wow.
him, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so we did. We did long distance for almost a year and a half, but we did have those hard
Wow.
conversations very early on of
Yes, you have to.
expectations, because it was in my mind, I'm not going to waste my time if we're not on the same page about
Right.
what we want in the life. It's worked out.
Yes.
We're 18 years together.
Oh
You
my
quit counting
gosh,
at some point.
congratulations. Yes.
Yeah. It also helps, that you respect each other and honesty
Yes.
the whole time. And I don't have to like him at all times, but that's fair. He doesn't like me at all times, but we still stick together because we love each other. So that's kind of how we live our life.
Well, in relationships, it's relationships are not 50-50.
No.
There are going to be times where you're in a low and your partner's in a high, or vice versa. And that's what growing together and having that growth mindset is so important, because you support each other through those tough times.
Let's talk about that a little bit. You
Yeah.
matchmake, you have one of your clients come back. I'm not liking him because of this.
Right.
Sometimes I would assume you go back to your coaching days, right? Now we're going to talk
Yes.
about coaching and why we're not giving up on this person yet because of one thing. Talk through
Yes.
that a little bit.
Well, yeah. So, because I do both, so I coach and I do matchmaking, but the huge component of matchmaking is coaching. It is not just
Oh,
coaching
yeah.
my client; it's also coaching their match.
Yeah.
And so when I get on calls with both of them, so I get on a call with both the client and the match, we talk about those conversations, and if they give me pushback on why, I always have I have a 3-date rule where I'm like, okay, so when you leave that date, there's two important questions that you need to ask yourself. Not, can I see myself, marrying this person? Is this person going to be a good parent to my children? Because after a first date, you are still complete strangers. You only know each other for a very short amount of time. So really the two most important questions that I always tell both my matchmaking clients and coaching clients is, okay, when you're in front of this person, number one, what version of yourself came out? And do you
Mm.
like that version of yourself? Because we all have different versions around different people. And if you notice that okay, well, I was my playful, fun self, or I was like, oh, I was more of like a sitting back and listening self, or I was a more like funny, cracking joke self, right? So there's different versions of us that come out. And did you like that version? And then the second question to ask yourself is not if there's chemistry, because chemistry can grow. The second question is, am I curious to know more?
Huh.
Like, did I leave that conversation saying, oh man, I really enjoy talking about this, or I really enjoy talking about that, or I'm really curious to know more about that. If it's positive, both answers, and you like both answers, you are to give that person, if you feel that way after every date, you are to give that person 3 dates.
Okay. I
Yeah.
like it. I live by the 3 rule too. 3
Yeah.
choices, 3. Yeah, it's just easy that way. Yeah.
It's great. Yes.
All right, we call you. We're ready to go. What's like the first step? Tell me, kind of talk through the process of your matchmaking skills.
Yeah. So the very first, because dating styling is also a part of the work that I do, how you present yourself to the world, making sure that you're shining from the outside in. So a lot of people who come to me haven't dated in a long time. Make sure, a lot of them are like, I don't even know what to wear. I haven't even gone on a date in 25 years. So the very first step is to create their profile. So it's getting to know them. So it's putting them through a series of personality tests. But then it's also, okay, let's create your profile, which
Mm-hmm.
means I'm going to style you for your photo shoot. We're going to do a fantastic photo shoot. I'm going to get to know you so that I can do this beautiful write up about who you are as a person. And it's really interesting because, even if you're online dating, I always tell people, ask your friends, what would they say
Yeah,
about you? Like, have your friends fill out your bio.
that's
Have
cute. I
your
like it.
friends fill out, because their viewpoint on you, like, it's so difficult to talk about yourself versus let somebody else, say all of the wonderful things about you, because it's much easier. And
Yeah.
so as a matchmaker, I get to know my clients and all of the goodness that they have and everything they have to bring to the table, and understand them on a much deeper level. So when I create their profile, that when I present it to other people, they're like, wow,
Yeah.
this person. I
That's a great
absolutely want to meet
idea.
this person. Um, so that's really like the first steps. And then the second is, okay, fine tuning. Okay, according to your personality, and this is some information, and these are your core values. Would you agree with me that these are the things that we're looking for in a person? Yes. Would you agree with me, that this is the person probably fits somewhat of this criteria? Yes. Now, the matchmaking process it's a learning process between myself and my client. So
Mm-hmm.
as I continue to match my client, I am learning so much about them because I'm getting date feedback from their matches, right? So it's because there's different versions of ourselves that appear on dates. And
Yeah.
so sometimes my client will show up in a certain way and I'll be like, wow, really? I never knew this about them. This is interesting. And so it's this huge discovery process. And so I start off with matches that, what I love to do is that people that I've worked with in the past, or people that I know personally, or people that I've already vetted, just to kind of start that process. Okay, let's get you on a date with somebody who I think that you could possibly, that for sure that, you align on these different things. I think that the two of you should get to know each other. And then as every match happens, everything tweaks. And so the person that I might start off looking for could change in that process and who
Ah,
they end up in the end. And people say this to me all the time, where it's like, I would have never gone on a date with a person like this if it wasn't for you. I would have
yeah.
never considered this person if it wasn't for you. And to me, as a matchmaker, that is the ultimate compliment
Yay.
ever, because why would you be hiring me?
Yeah,
Like,
agreed.
that's my job, is to introduce you to people that you wouldn't have known otherwise, or maybe you would have even considered. And so have great matches happened on the first match? Yes, because some of this is intuitive, where I get, okay, I think these two people would jive together. I think they might have a great connection. But sometimes does it take a couple of dates? Yes. Sometimes does it take 8 dates? Sometimes. It just depends. as long as you are open and as long as you are willing to go with the flow and be willing to have some uncomfortable conversations and willing to learn about yourself in the process, there's just such incredible magic that happens.
I love that.
Yeah.
It makes complete sense. I love that. What is one dating faux pas that you often see that you just nip in the bud right away?
Oh gosh. So there is a saying, be interested, not interesting.
Ah,
So people think they have to go on the date to impress the other person. It's reverse. I always say, you're not here to be chosen, you are here to choose. And so when you show up to a date, it's your job to get to know the person. Like I always know when somebody's talking too much that when I get date feedback, the person's like, I really didn't kind of get to know them much. I'm like, yeah, it's probably because you were talking about yourself the entire time, which that's what we do when we're nervous because that's our go-to. It's much easier to sit and talk about ourselves, our, our work, our family, our hobbies, our interests. And so I always tell it's men in particular. Men are the worst at this.
huh.
Women are extremely inquisitive. Women will ask a lot of questions. Men don't. It's like men are like, ask me. What do you want to know? And it's like,
It's true.
No. I mean, it's called relationship for a reason. We need to relate to one another. And the way that we can relate to one another is by asking questions and being inquisitive. So yeah.
I can totally see that. That.
Yes.
Well, go find CatCantrill.com, the Scottsdale Matchmaker. Get in with her. Get your advice. She's going to do the work for you. You have to sit back and just be yourself. She'll bring it out in you, and then you'll find the love of your life. Before we leave, Kat, one last question. What is your favorite Scottsdale vibe?
Oh, the people.
Yeah.
Yeah. The people. One of the things that I love, because I'm an Arizona native, born and raised in Scottsdale, went to Saguaro High School, it's a melting pot. And I think that it's such a unique community of so many people from so many different backgrounds that come to one particular area. I just think it's the people that just make it so unique and beautiful.
I love it. I couldn't agree more. And being one of those melting pot people, I appreciate you loving us that way.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Kat, thank you so much for what you do for finding love in all of the right places. Don't forget to check her out. You can find this episode on YouTube as well. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll have the calendar of events. Buying a home can be scary and sometimes frustrating, but all of that can go away with the right realtor. And that's where Sean Shackleton with the Shackleton Group is here for you. Sean has over 25 years experience in real estate. She's here to get you what you want and won't settle for less. She's experienced, knowledgeable, and understands this market, which these days is always changing. Take the stress out of your next home purchase by calling Sean at 480-734-7277. You can also find her at theshackletongroup.com. We are in full force. The Waste Management Phoenix Open has officially begun this week. Be prepared. There are lots of changes. There are road closures. There are new openings. It's going to be beautiful weather. Fingers crossed. Keeps that way. So get ready because prepared. They already have the general admission tickets are sold out for Saturday. So if you haven't gotten your tickets, you need to get on it now, or best of luck and watch it online or watch it on TV like most of us else. The Arabian Horse Show is coming up next week. We'll have that guest coming up. It's their 70th anniversary. So it'll be lots of celebrations and big events for that. And for all of you runners out there or want to be runners, the 5K Aquari Run is happening to benefit the Odyssey Aquariums Foundation. This year, they're racing and running for the Apache trout, which is the state fish of Arizona. So it's a fundraiser for them. It's an easy event. There's always something fun to do afterwards. They do a great job. So go out there, enjoy your week, Scottsdale. Have a wonderful week. Keep vibing, and I'll see you around town.